Tuesday morning, I'm sitting in the refectory of Nunraw Abbey with Dom Raymond, a former abbot of the Cistercian community here. If you just hold that. Dom Raymond, we were talking earlier about the writings of Thomas Merton, which attracted you to the Cistercian way of life. What was it that particularly grabbed you back then?
It was the absoluteness of the commitment, I think, I wanted to go the whole way, however far that was, and as far as I could understand, this was just about as far as I could go.
The whole way being a life that's quite demanding compared to other religious orders? Well,
in the sense that I wanted to commit my whole life to God, and my life to be focused on God completely, and with Him the centre, and everything else on the periphery, if you like to put it that way.
Yeah. The daily routine is quite exacting.
Well, I took to it like a duck to water from the word go. I thought at first, they can give me all the work, the hard work they like, but the time in church will be what will kill me, I suppose. But it was the other way around. The work was so hard and demanding that I found it quite surprisingly demanding. And, the time in church, I like that very much too.
How much time do you spend in church?
Well, we have 8 services throughout the day, and the 2 or 3 little services in the middle of the day only last about 10 minutes. The other longer services last from 3/4 of an hour to maybe 20 minutes or something like that.
And you have to pray during the night as well as during the day?
Yeah, we begin at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that service lasts for about 3/4 of an hour. Then there's half an hour private prayer, and then there's an interval for your own private reading or prayer, then breakfast, and that's the way the day goes on. It's divided between the times in church, the time in public prayer, and the times at work, then the meal times, of course, and then the times for one's own private reading and prayer.
Yeah. And the work would be physical work?
At that time, it was mainly farm work. We had a large farm, and in those days, farming wasn't so mechanized as it is now. There would be as many as 20 of us in a field making hay or turnips or whatever. But nowadays, that's the big change in the life since when the time I joined. Farming is much more mechanized. It only takes 2 or 3 men to run the farm. But we don't have the young men nowadays, so there's no problem. No problem.
So you're hinting there at big changes in the community since you've been here?
Yes, yeah. We grew to 50, 60 members, and now we're down to 15, and there's not much signs of young ones coming forward to join us these days.
Why do you think that is?
Well, who knows? It's perhaps it's something to do with the values of stability and commitment no longer holding the place in society that they do. And they're such important values for our way of life. These values are they're essential in many aspects of life, really. Marriage, work, and that. And every aspect of society is being affected by that, I would say. The lack of stability and commitment. But anyway, whatever the reason, the young ones aren't coming forward now.
How long have you been professed?
I joined the monastery in 1951. And we have about a few months postulancy, then 2 years novitiate, then 3 years in first vows, and then you make your final vows. So you get about 7 or 8 years before you make up your mind finally.
long time to change your mind.
Yeah, well, you're sort of testing the life, and the community is keeping its eye on you to see do you really fit, and so on. No?
Yeah. I guess the day when you finally make those vows must be...
It's a big
amazing.
day. Oh, yes. Yeah, it's a big day. Yeah.
Looking back, what would you say you feel you've received from living this life that you would have missed if you'd done something else?
Well, of course, the focal point in our life is God, getting to know Him, to love Him, and these are the things in which our life just grows and grows, and there's no end to it. So the life is always new, and always coming up with new riches, new horizons. It's spiritually, it's you might say it's a demanding life, but rather it's an exciting life. It's an adventure. That's how I found it anyway.
It seems a bit strange for you to say it's always new when it must be such a repetitive life.
The life is very, very same, if you could put it that way. But to have a monastic vocation is to be the kind of character who thrives on routine and likes to have a definite time each day when he knows he can do his reading, his prayer, and so much so that when we come to community retreats, when we get an outside preacher for a week, I find the upset in the routine is it's not quite to my liking. I prefer the regular routine of every day. I find it more fruitful for myself. But then, that's different people find these things. They take these things differently.
How do you feel when you look into the future?
The future, well, that's in God's hands. And regarding the numbers coming to the monastery, it doesn't look very promising. But we have the life, and we enjoy it, and we feel we're growing in it, and that it's worthwhile. And if nobody comes to join us, well, that's their loss, not ours.
Wonderful. Don Raymond, thanks very much
There we
for
are.
taking the time to talk to me.
God bless.